Welcome everyone to the latest episode of the ITSS Verona Members Series. In this episode, we'll be speaking to Rodrigo Duton, an adjunct faculty member at the George C. Marshall Center, where he teaches the Countering Transnational Organized Crime course, a role he has held since June 2023. Originally from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, he also has extensive experience working on Brazilian police forces. He holds an international master's in security intelligence and strategic studies from the University of Glasgow, Dublin City University, and Charles University's Prague's joint program. He specializes in issues related to countering transnational organized crime and the nexus between terrorism, policing issues, and governance. As a brief disclaimer, Rodrigo Duton is participating in this podcast solely in his academic capacity. He's not speaking on behalf of any Brazilian law enforcement agency or the government of Brazil. The views and opinions expressed are his own. Thank you for joining us. Over to Rabiah, who has our first question.
Hi, Rodrigo. It's great to have you with us today. So I think for our viewers, let's start with a bit of context. Could you please provide us with a brief background on Brazil's current security situation and how is the policing system structured and what challenges does it face?
Okay, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Brazil's security situation is complex and varies greatly across its different regions. To gain a clear understanding, let's begin by setting the stage. It's important to remember that Brazil is the fifth largest country in the world, following Russia, China, United States, and Canada. And Brazil shares its borders with 10 countries, including the three major cocaine producers in the world, Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia. The country's inland borders stretch for nearly 17,000 kilometers. This is roughly the same distance as a straight line flight from São Paulo, Brazil, to Bangkok in Thailand. For another comparison, it's also the same distance between Sydney, Australia, and Paris, France. So you have an idea how huge are inland borders, Brazilian inland borders. Just to put into perspective, the US southern border with Mexico, which demands a significant attention from US authorities, is only 3,000 kilometers, and Brazil has 17,000 kilometers. So this shows you a bit of the challenge we have in Brazil. Brazil also encompasses the Amazon region, that is a vast expanse of rainforest that is extremely challenging to monitor and control. In November 2016, Brazil launched an integrated border protection program that involves 18 agencies to enhance prevention, control, oversight, and enforcement against cross-border crimes. The main cross-border crimes that I can highlight to you is about smuggling, money laundering, illegal mining, drug trafficking, arms trafficking, human trafficking, and trafficking of natural resources, to name a few. More recently, in May 2024, Brazil launched the National Border Policy, with the objective to guide the actions of the executive branch in collaboration with federative entities and private institutions in order to promote security, sustainable development, and social protection along Brazil borders. It's worth mentioning that Brazil is divided into 26 states and one federal district. And in 2023, Brazil population reached 203 million people. Some Brazilian cities have a population larger than many countries. For example, my hometown, Rio de Janeiro, we have 6.5 million inhabitants. This is bigger than Norway, with 6.5 million people. For instance, Giovanni from Italy, your biggest city, Rome, has nearly 3 million people. In Rio, we have more than the double. So in one hand, Brazil has extremely high density areas, which present significant challenges. On the other hand, the country has also vast inhabited regions, particularly in the Amazon, which share borders with the 7 countries, including the 3 major cocaine producers. It's important to highlight that Brazilian prison system has identified 72 criminal organizations last year. Brazil has a prison population of 644,000 individuals, the third largest prison population in the world, behind only the United States and China. And we have 5 federal penitentiaries modeled after the US Supermax. The most dangerous prisoners in the country are transferred to there. So to sum up, Brazil is a vast country with challenges that are equally large. Do you want to know about the police system?
Thanks so much for your response on that. Yeah, definitely would be interested to hear more about how the policing system works, and we'll come on to that in some of our later questions. So our next question is, what actors are involved in the crime-terror nexus in Brazil? Do you find foreign actors influencing Brazilian crime from elsewhere in Latin America, Europe, or Africa?
Yeah, when it comes to the crime-terror nexus, it's important to highlight the categorization of the interactions between crime and terrorism. New concepts were introduced in 2019 through the Nexus Policy Toolkit, that is a joint published by the United Nations Interregional Crime and Justice Research Institute, UNICRI, and the Global Counterterrorism Forum, GCTF. According to this document, we can identify the transactional nexus and the organizational nexus. In the context of the transnational nexus, alliances are formed with the goal of increasing efficiency, where groups outsource specialized services like forgery and bomb making to others. Additionally, there is an appropriation of tactics, where both terrorism and criminal organizations adopt and imitate the methods used one by another. In the organization nexus, integration can take place either through evolving alliances, where groups begin to collaborate regularly and share goals and methods, or through the targeted recruitment of a radicalized group of experienced criminals into a terrorist cell. The hybrid stage is characterized by equal importance of both terror and crime activities, with the group making them central to its existence. Finally, transformation occurs when the group's fundamental objectives shift to the point where its original purpose is lost, leading a terrorist group to become a criminal organization or vice versa. We can also identify black holes. That is less a manifestation of the nexus than a description of an extreme environment that breeds the nexus in many manifestations. By definition, black holes generally refers to a defined geographic area that lacks governance and security, and territorial control is often taken by groups that are able to gain control over the economy and people. In Brazil, we can identify some black holes, at least 3, the Tabatinga-Letícia corridor on the border of Brazil and Colombia, also Ciudad del Este in the 3-border region of Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina, and also the city of Manaus, the capital city of the state of Amazonas. And the crime-terror nexus in Brazil involves several key actors. We can highlight the Comando Vermelho, the Red Command, that emerged from the prison system in Rio de Janeiro during the 70s. At that time, Brazil was under the military rule, and political prisoners were put together, were incarcerated alongside ordinary criminals, including bank robbers and kidnappers. This mix led to a formation of the Comando Vermelho inside the Ilha Grande prison, which extended its influence from behind bars to streets and favelas. In the 80s, the CV forged strong ties with Colombia FARC for cocaine trafficking. The group engaged in arms for drugs exchange and adopted terrorist tactics. This is talking about Rio de Janeiro. In São Paulo, 20 years later, around 1993, emerged the PCC, the Primeiro Comando da Capital, also from inside the prison system. It became the largest criminal organization in Brazil, known for its involvement in transnational cocaine trafficking, cyber crimes, money laundering, and weapons trafficking. The PCC has adopted terrorist tactics such as target assassinations and attacks on government facilities to further its criminal objectives. Today, the PCC is considered a mafia-style organization and has influence in almost all states of Brazil and strong connections with Italian mafia, such as Ndrangheta. The organization's stability and success are underpinned by several key strategies, including the establishment of financial fund supported by members' contributions to assist inmate families and provide legal aid. Corruption, particularly manipulation of state officials like judges, correctional officers, and police officers, is crucial to their operations. The PCC operates in 22 countries outside Brazil, with significant activity in South America and the Mediterranean Europe. More recently, Brazilian authorities have uncovered PCC money laundering schemes involving real estate, construction companies, gas stations, waste collection, churches, public transportation sector, vehicle dealership, illegal gold mining, digital bank, fintechs, public health, they are almost everywhere. And also we can identify the Hezbollah activity, mainly in the three-border area between Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay. Hezbollah also engages in various crime activities, including money laundering, to fund its operations. Recently, we have observed that cigarette smuggling, including electronic cigarettes, has been occurring in Brazil and also contributing to the financing of terrorism. And the smuggling of cultural goods from Brazil to Europe and the United States, including fossils and indigenous artifacts, is contributing to the finance of terrorism as well.
Hi, Rodrigo. Do you believe that the CrimeTerror Nexus in Brazil is sufficiently examined, or are local security issues and transnational organized crime still viewed as two distinct factors?
In my opinion, the CrimeTerror Nexus is often overlooked because there is no universal agreement upon definition of terrorism. So the concept of terrorism varies significantly depending on historical, political, and cultural context, making it difficult to establish a global consensus. When one group considers terrorism, another might view as fight for freedom fighters. So according to the UN, terrorism refers to acts of violence directed against civilians in pursuit of political and ideological objectives. Apart from definition, many people mistakenly believe that terrorist activities are limited to a blast of a bomb or an active shooter incident. However, terrorist attacks involve a much broader spectrum of activities that start long before any attack takes place. The process includes phases such as recruitment, radicalization through the dissemination of news updates and propaganda materials, finance, training, logistics, planning, all of which has the potential to culminate in an attack that might involve bombs, firearms, vehicles, chemical agents, and other means. The terrorist attack is not the end of their actions. Terrorists also engage in other activities after the attack, such as evasion, escape, and most importantly, the exploitation of the attack through media dissemination. So terrorists heavily rely on media attention and internet channels to achieve their goals of spreading terror. Throughout all these phases, the connection between crime and terror becomes evident. The preparatory phases of a terrorist attack often unfold quietly, and Brazilian authorities have been vigilant and effective in detecting and countering such activities. In July 2016, 10 members of a pro-ISIS cell were arrested by the federal police in Brazil after plotting terrorist attacks against LGBTQ+ people, Shiite Muslims, and Jews, as well as foreigners at the 2016 Olympics in my city, Rio de Janeiro. And more recently, in November 2023, Brazilians linked to Hezbollah were preparing attacks in Brazil, and they were also arrested by the federal police. It highlights the importance to stay vigilant in these preparatory phases of terrorism. Despite the good results, we must remain vigilant about the role of the internet, particularly social media and encrypted messaging apps, which are increasingly used in both the preparation of terrorist attacks and the coordination for organized crime. So, long story short, I would say that local security issues and transnational organized crime tend to dominate the security debate more than the CrimeTerror Nexus that is really misunderstood by many people in Brazil.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive answer. Finally, what would you say is the role of new and emerging technologies in law enforcement in Brazil?
Technology improves our lives while introducing new risks. This is unquestionable. New and emerging technology plays an increasingly important role in law enforcement, helping to address the country's complex security challenges. Some of the key areas where these technologies are making an impact, I can say it's surveillance and monitoring through drones, CCTV and smart cameras. We also have data analytics and artificial intelligence, crime data analysis, predictive policing. Some Brazilian cities are experimenting with predictive policing technologies, cybersecurity, digital forensics, communication and coordination, the integrated communication systems, where law enforcement agents are adopting advanced communication technologies to improve coordination during operations. These systems enable real-time information sharing between different units and agencies, enhancing response time and operational efficiency. Also, mobile apps. Some police departments in Brazil are using mobile apps to receive crime report for citizens, allowing for faster and more direct communication between the public and law enforcement. Also, biometrics and identification, facial recognition. Technology is being used at airports, border crossings, and public surveillance to identify suspects and track individuals involved in criminal activities. Also, we can highlight the body-worn cameras. The use of these devices is becoming more common, providing transparency and accountability in law enforcement operations. This technology also helps in gathering evidence during encounters. And also smart vehicles. Police vehicles are increasingly equipped with advanced technology such as license plate recognition systems, GPS tracking, and onboard computers, allowing officers to access database and manage incidents directly from their vehicles. Also, training and simulation. We use in some places virtual reality training in various scenarios, providing police officers with a safe environment to develop their skills in handling complex and dangerous situations. So in summary, new and emerging technologies are transforming law enforcement by enhancing surveillance capabilities, improving crime data analysis, strengthening cybersecurity, and fostering better communication and coordination. These advancements are critical in addressing the diverse and evolving security challenges the country faces.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
If there's anything else you want to add, do feel free to do so. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Sarah.